Are you ready to see what real value is? Well, in this video, we're going to be comparing the LG K40 to the BLU G9. So let's get started. Follow me on Instagram at KevinBreezeTV. Please join the Kevin Breeze Tech community on Facebook to chat about budget smartphones, ask questions, and help others. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison video between the LG K40 and the BLU G9. I think this video is going to be especially interesting because these two devices are currently being offered for the same price tag. Now, this version of the LG K40 is the factory unlocked version of the phone for the US market. Now, there are a lot of other versions of the K40 out there, such as the international version that has the MediaTek Helio P22 processor. There's also the Metro by T-Mobile version, which has double the amount of storage of this phone and a better camera on the back. And I'm pretty sure there's other versions of the LG K40 that will be out in other US carriers coming up soon. But this version is the factory unlocked version of the phone. This will work on AT&T, T-Mobile, Cricket, Metro by T-Mobile, and Verizon, and other GSM carriers. So just keep that in mind, because I know that it can get really confusing, especially considering that LG has basically a bunch of different variants of this device, and they all have the same name, and it's really hard to distinguish the differences between them. Now, I bought this phone at Best Buy for $179.99, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be available on Amazon pretty soon. So we'll be leaving an updated link to that in the video description when that does become available. Now, this is the one and only version of the BLU G9, so that makes it really simple. This is offered for $179.99 right now on Amazon, and the price might change over time, just like it might for the LG K40 as well, but at least at the moment, these phones are the same price. And the BLU G9 is factory unlocked, but it only works on GSM carriers. So in the US, this phone is going to work with AT&T, T-Mobile, Metro by T-Mobile, and Cricket. And I've been using this device personally with Cricket. Now, there are benefits and drawbacks to buying a factory unlocked phone. The benefit is that you can easily switch from carrier to carrier. And it's super easy because all you have to do is take out your old SIM card and put in your new one and you're good to go. The biggest downside to buying a factory unlocked device is that they're generally more expensive. For example, if you go into your local Metro by T-Mobile store or dealer and you want to buy an LG K40, then you're most likely going to be getting some really great discounts on it because they often offer various promos. So you'll probably be able to get an LG K40 at Metro by T-Mobile for well under $100. But of course, the downside with buying a device that's locked to a carrier is that you are stuck with that carrier for at least a certain period of time. Sometimes it's 6 months, sometimes it's longer than that. So I suppose it just depends on your budget and how confident you are with sticking with your carrier. And if that's the case, then you might want to just buy your device through the carrier. Now, the LG K40 features a 5.7-inch display coming in at 720p with an 18:9 aspect ratio. And the BLU G9 features a 6.3-inch display coming in at 720p with a 19:9 aspect ratio. So the display is a little bit taller on the BLU G9, but both devices have tall displays compared to your typical 16:9 smartphone. Now you can see, holding these up side by side, you definitely get a larger display with the BLU G9. Up top here, there are some pretty big differences between the two phones. We have more of a standard design here with no notch on the LG K40, and the BLU G9 has a small teardrop notch on the top. Now personally, I prefer the design of the BLU G9. I feel like it just looks more modern, and the bezels on the top and bottom are certainly a lot smaller compared to the LG K40. But if you're looking for a more traditional design, then you might actually prefer the LG K40. Now, something to keep in mind is that on the LG K40, we do have squared off corners, and on the BLU G9, the corners are rounded. So pretty interesting there. Now up top, we have a 5-megapixel front-facing camera on the LG K40, and on the BLU G9, we have a 13-megapixel camera. Now the LG K40 does have a front-facing flash, So if you think that's something that you're going to be using, then you might prefer to have the LG K40. And the BLU G9 does not have a front-facing flash, just a normal front-facing camera. But you do get a lot higher of a megapixel count with the BLU G9 compared to the LG K40. Now this version of the LG K40 has 16 gigabytes of internal storage with the ability to expand that with the micro SD card. And with the BLU G9 we get 64 gigabytes of internal storage with micro SD card expansion. So 4 times the amount of internal storage with the BLU G9. And that really is very impressive and good to see, because having just 16 gigs of internal storage with actually only 8 available for use on the LG K40 is pretty pathetic. Now we do not have wireless charging with either device, but we do have fingerprint sensors on the back. So we'll do a little demo of the fingerprint sensor right now. So here is the LG K40, pretty quick there with the fingerprint sensor, and the BLU G9, also very quick. So the fingerprint sensors work well in both phones and they're placed in a very convenient location. Now also in the rear we have the cameras, of course. On this version of the LG K40 we have an 8 megapixel rear facing camera, but we do have a 13 megapixel rear facing camera on the Metro by T-Mobile version of the phone. And on the BLU G9 we have a 13 megapixel rear facing camera. There's actually a special mode that gives you 4x interpolation, so you can take photos at 52 megapixels. Now this camera is a dual camera, giving you access to the bokeh mode on the rear, which is similar to portrait mode. The secondary camera is 2 megapixels. Now with the LG K40, we only have portrait mode on the front-facing camera and not the rear. And on the BLU G9, there is no front-facing portrait mode, so that's pretty interesting. Now with the LG K40, you get 2 gigabytes of RAM, and the BLU G9 has double the amount of RAM, coming in at 4 gigabytes. So double the amount of RAM on the BLU G9, and that's really awesome to see. Now with the LG K40, we have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 processor, and with the BLU G9, we have the MediaTek Helio P22. What's interesting is that the international version of the LG K40 actually does have the MediaTek Helio P22, and honestly, I do wish this phone had that processor over the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450. I think in general, it gives you better performance, but of course, we're going to do a comparison pretty soon, and you're going to be able to see the difference in performance with your own eyes. Now video recording on both devices maxes out at 1080p at 30 frames per second. We have a 3000 milliamp hour internal battery with the LG K40, and the BLU G9 has a 4000 milliamp hour internal battery. The LG K40 has Android 8.1 Oreo pre-installed, and the BLU G9 has Android 9 Pie, which is currently the latest version of Android. Now we do have Android Q coming up soon, and I don't know if either device will ever be updated to Q, but as soon as Q does roll out, that's going to mean that the LG K40 is 2 versions of Android behind. So I really think it's sad that the LG K40 just came out and has Android 8.1 Oreo. I don't know what LG was thinking when they designed the software for this phone. Now that we've compared the specifications of these two devices, let's now compare the hardware. Now we already compared a lot of the hardware on the front here. We have that 5.7 inch display on the LG K40 coming in at 720p, and the BLU G9 has the 6.3 inch display at 720p. Both phones have really good looking displays, but I think the display on the BLU G9 almost looks a bit better. It's a lot brighter and clearer with better colors, but I do think both phones do have good displays overall. I just prefer the display on the BLU G9. Now, if you're really into notches, of course, then you might want to go with the BLU G9, and if you don't like notches, then the LG K40 is the phone for you. So on the left side of these two devices, on the LG K40, we have the volume rocker, we have a dedicated Google Assistant button, and we have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. On the BLU G9, we just have the slot for the micro SD card and SIM card. On the right side of these two devices, on the LG K40, we just have the power button, and on the BLU G9, we have the volume rocker and power button. On the top of the two phones, on the LG K40, we have the noise canceling microphone, and that's it. And on the BLU G9, we have nothing. On the bottom of the two devices, on the LG K40, we have the speaker, we have the micro USB port for charging and data transfer, and we have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And on the BLU G9, we have the speaker, we have the USB-C port for charging and data transfer, we have the 3.5mm headphone jack, and we have the microphone. So I think that's another big surprise here that the LG K40 does not have USB-C. USB-C really is the future, and for paying $179.99, you really would expect to get USB-C on your device. Now taking a look at the back side of these two devices, we have the camera module, which we already kind of went over before. We have the fingerprint sensor, we have the flash, and that's pretty much it. Now both of these devices do attract fingerprints, but overall I really like the design of the BLU G9. I think this two-tone blue gradient mirror color here is really cool looking, and the LG K40 just looks really bland in comparison. So good job BLU with designing a really good and cool looking phone. Now that we've compared the specifications and hardware of these two phones, let's now do a speed test comparison to see which one is faster. So we're going to start by pulling up the camera. So 1, 2, 3, go. Looks like it was about the same there. Maybe the BLU G9 was a little bit quicker, but pretty close. Let's now pull up Google Chrome. 1, 2, 3, go. And the LG K40 was faster at pulling up Chrome. Let's go to yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3, go. Wow, and the K40 was also faster at pulling up Yahoo. Maybe I was wrong before. Maybe the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450 is actually a better processor. Let's go to Engadget. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like pulling up Engadget, the K40 was a lot faster as well. Interesting. I really wasn't expecting that, actually. We'll let this all load up here, and then we'll do a scrolling test. So we'll scroll. Both devices are smooth, though, at scrolling. So that's good. And then we'll scroll up to the top here. Let's pull up this article. 1, 2, 3, go. And again, faster on the LG K40. So very interesting there. Now another thing too is that both devices are at their max brightness, and you can see that the LG K40 is a bit brighter compared to the BLU G9. Now that we're getting towards the end of the video here, I want to go over my final thoughts regarding these two devices. Now, of course, they are the same exact price tag, and they're both available factory unlocked. Now, there's a lot of benefits with the BLU G9 over the LG K40. Earlier in the video, I suspected that the Helio P22 would be faster, though, compared to the Qualcomm Snapdragon 450, and it really seems like the 450 actually performs better than the Helio P22, just because we were able to load up web pages and different applications a little bit faster with the K40. So it does seem like the K40 is a little bit quicker, but I still think that the BLU G9 has really good software optimization. The device is really quick overall. And of course, having 4 gigabytes of RAM gives you a lot of benefits over the 2 gigabytes of RAM with the LG K40. In addition to that, I just like the design of the BLU G9 a lot better. I really do like having that teardrop notch at the top. I think it looks really sharp. I think the display looks really good too on the BLU G9. And of course, having 64 gigabytes of internal storage is way better than having just 16 gigabytes with the LG K40. I think the BLU G9 is the better choice of the two. Of course, if you are a Verizon wireless user, then you're going to have to go with the K40 out of these two devices. So that is a bit unfortunate. I'd love to see a version of the BLU G9 later on that supports all 4 major carriers in the US, including Sprint and Verizon, because that really would help set this apart from the competition. But if you are a GSM user, so if you use T-Mobile, AT&T, Metro by T-Mobile, or Cricket, then you're definitely going to like the BLU G9 because you're going to get great compatibility with it. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to buy either of these two phones, then definitely take a look at the link in the video description. Let me know what you think of these two devices and if you own one of the two. And if you are to buy one of these two, which one would you prefer? This is Kevin here. Give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one.